Back here in Gleason's gym, Brian Kenny, Bert Randolph, Sugar. The countdown continues. Ringside, the heavyweight top 10. And now we're at number 7. And I think you have Ezzard Charles a little higher than most. Ezzard Charles is number 7 on Bert's list. Why, Bert?
Ezzard Charles was an extremely gifted fighter, but we don't know much about him. Why? He followed in the wake of Joe Louis. As exciting as Joe Louis was, Ezzard Charles was vanilla. He was unexciting. And yet, what a great fighter. As a light heavyweight, faced Archie Moore 3 times, won 3 times. Really was a great fighter as a light heavyweight. Comes up to the heavyweight division. After Louis retires, he beats Jersey Joe Walcott in a box-off. Defends 9 times in 2 years, once against Walcott. Walcott ultimately knocks him out in 51 and becomes champion. And yet, Ezzard Charles, still 16 years into his career, fights Rocky Marciano twice and gives him, outside of the first Walcott fight, the 2 toughest fights he ever had. 15-round decision, and the second was an 8-round knockout.
Okay. So what about Michael Spinks, for example, who didn't have a great reign as a heavyweight champion, but was a heavyweight champion, had a great reign as a light heavyweight?
He wasn't as great in the light heavyweight as Ezzard Charles was, and Ezzard Charles was also a great heavyweight.
Even though he didn't win the title, and I know he beat a lot of great fighters, but didn't win the title.
But he was fighting during the war when all those titles were really frozen.
Okay.
They were frozen. And I think we put too much emphasis on just who wins titles when. And he became a great fighter and a champion, not a great champion necessarily, but he was just great. And I can't tell you, when he beats Charlie Burley, whom nobody wanted to fight.
But this is later in Burley's career, right? You tell me, was
yes,
this
a little bit
prime
later.
Burley or no?
Well, Burley, nobody knew when his prime was because he could beat everybody.
But it was late in his career.
Later in his career.
Later, right.
But Ezzard Charles could beat anybody, and he was a slickster. He just, after he killed a man, Sam Baruden, in Cincinnati, never really had the heart to go out and try to knock a man out. He just outpoint him. Doesn't make him, as a fighter, maybe as a puncher, as a fighter, it doesn't make him any less great.
Let's see this greatness in action right now. Again, we're talking about number 7 on Bert Randolph Sugar's list. Ezzard Charles, number 7 on the list, with Jersey Joe Walcott.
At the beginning of round 1, champion Ezzard Charles, in black trunks to your right, moves out and boxes smartly. The challenger, Jersey Joe Walcott, in white trunks, is a marvelous boxer with good power in either hand. A year and a half ago, in 1949, Charles fought Walcott for the heavyweight championship left vacant by the retirement of former champion Joe Louis. Walcott and Charles were the outstanding heavyweights in the division, and it was agreed in 1949 that the winner of a Charles-Walcott fight would be crowned heavyweight champion. Ezzard Charles took a close, hard-fought 15-round decision in Chicago, and then was recognized as the 17th heavyweight champion of the world. Walcott will stand off and throw little feints, trying to get the champion to lead. This tactic was extremely successful against Joe Louis in their first meeting. Watch Charles come in with a hard right to the body, and Walcott will counter with a solid left right to the head. Both of these men are excellent counterpunchers. Heavyweight champion Ezzard Charles was born in 1921 in Lawrenceville, Georgia. Ezzard is 30 years old and has been a professional fighter for 11 years. Charles holds victories over some of the greatest fighters of the decade. After beating Joe Walcott a year and a half ago for the vacated heavyweight championship, Ezzard then defended his title against the light heavyweight champion Gus Lesnovich, whom he KO'd in 7 rounds. Watch Jersey Joe get in some hard shots to the body and head. Walcott is really letting out now. He wants that title desperately. This is Charles' 7th defense of the title that he won merely 18 months ago. Ezzard has stated many times that the greatest thrill of his life came last September 27th, 1950. On that date, he met and defeated former champion Joe Louis, who had come out of retirement in an effort to regain the heavyweight championship. In a sensational 15-round slugfest, Charles won a unanimous decision over the Brown Bomber. Round 4 was given to Walcott by all 3 officials. But both rounds 7 and 8 were given to the champion, Ezzard Charles, because he landed the sharper punches. As we go into round 9, it's still a very close contest, with both men knowing that the heavyweight championship at this point is still up for grabs. After both men cut loose with ripping shots to the head and body, Charles catches Jersey Joe with a left hook and sends the challenger to the canvas. Walcott is in serious trouble as the referee picks up the count. Joe takes the count of 9 and gets to his feet. Let's watch that knockdown in slow motion from our ringside camera. Walcott seems to go right into that left hook. Notice the glazed expression in the eyes of Jersey Joe. Walcott smartly takes the full count, taking advantage of every one of those precious seconds to rest. As Walcott rises, the question is whether the champion can get in there and finish the job. This is the first time that Walcott has been down in 3 years. It took the Brown Bomber, Joe Louis, to do it the last time. Walcott seems to have recovered from that knockdown. Joe is in marvelous condition, and it's paying off right now. Again, the champion lands some solid shots that force Walcott to hold. Both men shoot in some jolting punches, and Walcott staggers Charles with a left hook. It's scored as a big 9th round for Ezzard Charles, and it's definitely given him a substantial lead in this fight. Time after time, when one fighter seemed to be getting an advantage, his opponent would come back strong. That big knockdown, which Charles scored in the 9th round, seems to be the major difference in this contest. It's a strong finish to a great heavyweight championship fight. And there's the end of the 15th and final round. 2 magnificent fighters giving it all they had. Ezzard Charles wins a unanimous 15-round decision and retains his World Heavyweight Championship on March 7th, 1951.
Charles shadowboxes. The NBA champ is 9 years younger than Joe Louis, and his 3 fights since he defeated Jersey Joe Walcott in June 1949 have kept him in good physical condition. Now to finish off the day with a few fast rounds of boxing. Ezzard and his sparring partners pick up their gloves and get to work. With careful preparation and hard work, Ezzard Charles hopes to get rid of the shadow of Joe Louis and become the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world.
This is Ringside, the top 10 heavyweights. Next up, Ezzard Charles, number 7 on the Bert Sugar list, takes on an aging Joe Louis. Here are highlights of that 1950 title bout.
You're going to see the famous Joe Louis in his famous fighting style, and an Ezzard Charles who is a cobra and a striking puncher with hand always held high. Well, there's a different Lewis. He's not out to counterpunch. He's out to end it. 36 years of age. His opponent, 29. Lewis with his back to you. Ezzard Charles, easily identifiable with the stripe, the white stripe down his trunks. Two minutes to go of the first round, and there's excitement and action. A goodly crowd here tonight, and you can hear them in our Pabst Blue Ribbon microphone. This is a Lewis who constantly stalks, as you know. Charles has Joe's nose just slightly colored, but Joe is in there to punch. £33 difference in favor of Lewis. 218 to 184.5. Notice how Charles keeps that right high up to his chin to shoot it out in case he has to. Crafty, agile, excellent boxer. 1 minute to go, first round. Joe tried for the punch that time. They may talk about Lewis's reflexes being slow, but his punch is still there. Half a minute to go of the first round. Although Charles is considered rather light for a heavyweight at his weight of 184.5. Remember that Bob Fitzsimmons weighed 156.5 for his championship fight with Jim Corbett back in 1897. Joe is now stalking. The sight of the blood has enraged him. The crowd senses that he's after him, and that's why you hear the roar in the background. The cameras go up. Charles backing away. Joe goes in. Left eye closed, the nostril breathing. That's why he's backing up. Joe is after him. Joe Lewis now stalking his prey. Waiting to work those combinations off the left. In close then, the camera couldn't reveal it. A terrific short right. It landed on the button of Ezzard Charles, and he's bleeding more profusely. Joe's best round now, and the crowd roaring with it. 1 minute to go of the 10th round. Knees buckling slightly. Ezzard Charles backed against the ropes that time. Joe constantly looking for that opening. This is the drama. This is where what you see tells you what you want to see. Charles beautifully spinning Joe Lewis around when in trouble. Half a minute to go, the 10th round. Joe Lewis showing his best. Almost 30 minutes after the fight began. So the question of 36 years of age seems to be disproven at this moment. Charles lashing back as best he can, and yet showing that agility and flexibility and the fluency as the round is almost over. And they'll have to work on him, and work on him hard in his corner. Here's the bell. Listen to that roar. Well, the crowd certainly enjoyed that because that was Lewis's best round. Having realized in the 9th round that he had hurt the nose and damaged it, he went after it and scored telling blows, and particularly one when Ezzard Charles had his back to the camera. A beautiful right, but remember this, that Ezzard Charles has taken Joe Lewis's very best punches in that round. There again we have the thought, if they were the very best punches, can Joe have enough in reserve to hit some more? Can he strike out? Both boys completely blinded in their left eyes, attesting to the punching power of both. Both will keep punching away at those eyes. Well, there's the cleanest shot of the fight you've seen, with Joe's head snapping back, a long right-hander. Joe is perceptibly slowing down, but still he has that powerful punch. 2 minutes to go in this round. Round 12 of a 15-rounder for the heavyweight championship of the world. And the seconds tick into history. Very telling right hand by Charles that time. The round half over. A good crowd here at Yankee Stadium sitting in on what has been an excellent bout. To go the round. Charles willing to wrap up a fight because he thinks he has it won. Joe Louis ready to slip behind with 50 seconds to go. Intense drama. Charles constantly flecking away, striking heavy blows at Joe Louis. Half minute to go of the fight. "15 seconds to go, and Charles still belting away. The fight's gone all the way, and an era ends as the bell sounds and the crowd roars its great approval.
Judge Joe Agnello scores it 12-3, favor of Charles. Judge Frank Forbes scores it 13-2, favor of Charles. Referee Mark Kahn, 10-5, favor of Charles. Winner by unanimous decision and heavyweight champion of the world, Ezzard Charles.
Joe Louis was Ezzard Charles's boyhood idol. After the Cincinnati Cobra beat the Brown Bomber, he said, "When Joe began to falter, I started dreaming. Could this be the great Joe Louis? I wanted to win, but I didn't want to knock him out." It's ringside, our heavyweight top 10. Brian Kenny, Bert Randolph, Sugar back here at Gleason's Gym in Brooklyn, USA. This is where things get dicey. Number 6, Bert has Rocky Marciano. And what do you do with Rocky Marciano? The man retired undefeated, so the fans for The Rock can always say he never got beaten in the ring. And yet, the quality of opposition, so you put him at number 6. Why?
Marciano has the second greatest number in the history of sports when it comes to consecutives. There was Joe DiMaggio, 56 for games hit safely in. Rocky Marciano for 49 fights won consecutively. And yet, fighters, and particularly the heavyweight division, are like women's skirts. They go up and down in terms of the quality. And the quality of fighters during Rocky Marciano's reign were terrible, would be a nice way of saying it. Jimmy Cannon once said he stands out, meaning Marciano, like a rose in a garbage dump. There was nobody there. The 6 greatest fights he had, 2 against Walcott, 2 against Ezzard Charles, 1 against Joe Louis, and 1 against Archie Moore. Average age almost 40.
Wow.
Now, I don't know what to do with him because he was one of the greats.
Right, and he answered the call. When in trouble, in the ring, he answered the call, he finished people off. Right.
And yet, his title defenses were against Don Cockell of England, who asked for it was a 16-foot ring, he asked for a 20-foot ring, and one writer said, why? When he falls, it's not going to make any difference. I used up Roland Lastarza. Jersey Joe Walcott a second time, went out in one round. Archie Moore, I mean, the quality wasn't there. And greatness is against whom you rub up against. And that, unfortunately, means that Rocky Marciano was penalized by history because he was great.
How skilled was he as far as his ability to infight, as far as his level of experience? We know he had the power. He could put someone out with one shot. How about his level of skill, Bert?
Level of skill would be -12 on the Richter scale.
Really? Even on the inside, little subtleties, things like that?
He had no subtlety. He had a Susie Q, the greatest right hand in the history of boxing.
How about his work ethic then? What was
he was dedicated. He was dedicated. I don't think anybody ever worked harder than Rocky. He came under Charlie Goldman's aegis, and Charlie Goldman changed everything but his right hand. He, even when he began training, stepped on his own feet and would knock himself down. But nobody could stop that right hand. He would take every punch and deliver twice as much. When Archie Moore fought him, they asked him, did you get hurt? Did he hurt you? Meaning Marciano. He said, every punch felt like I was getting hit by a blackjack or a truck full of rocks. So, yes. And Joe Louis said, he doesn't really fight by the book, but I got hit by a library tonight. So this man could fight. The problem was quality of opponents. That's all I can say, because there is no denigrating his greatness.
Yeah. Again, a wide variance of opinion on this when you talk to the experts in boxing, just to where you put Rocky Marciano. Bert Randolph Sugar has him at number 6, and we're going to talk about Joe Louis. We're going to see Joe Louis in action right now. Granted, this is an old Joe Louis, as Eddie Murphy in Coming to America said, one of his characters. Joe Louis was 127 years old when he fought Rocky Marciano. He's very old at this point, but we get a chance to see Rocky Marciano defend his title. Let's watch.
Trainer Manny Seaman whispers last-minute instructions to Joe Louis as he answers the bell for round 2 and catches a winging left hook from Rocky Marciano. Once more, Louis finds his back to the ropes. Rocky forced him to the stand 3 times in the first round. And here he is, still bullying the ex-champion. Marciano likes to pin his man back, then go to work on the head and body. Rocky, about to miss a right, lands a hard left hook to the head. He's pressuring, gunning for a shot at the heavyweight title. Did you see how quickly he recovered after the miss? Marciano bobbing and weaving. He hasn't as yet perfected that attacking crouch for which he later becomes famous. A sweeping right by Marciano misses and strikes the ropes with such an impact they quiver for moments afterward. Louis back to a corner. Joe Louis, generally recognized as one of the greatest heavyweight champions of all time, finds himself bullied, crowded, pressured by a smaller, lighter but harder hitting Marciano. Rocky won the first round. He's been constantly the aggressor here in round 2. Here comes a hard left-right left by Marciano, working on the body with his man pinned to the ropes. Rocky gets in a solid winging right to the head. You can see that Louis feels those punches. Rocky's really pouring it on. Louis, you remember, became champion of the world by knocking out Jim Braddock in 1937. He successfully defended the crown 25 times before he gave it up in 1949. Up till then, he had been defeated only once, by Max Schmeling. But when he tried to regain the crown in 1950, he was outpointed by Ezzard Charles, and he faded in subsequent fights with Cesar Brion, Emilio Agramonte, and Jimmy Bivens. Louis twice outpointed Brion and expected Marciano to be no tougher. A winging right grazes Lewis's jaw. Marciano goes to work on the body at the end of round 2. A big round for Rocky. At the bell, they come out slugging for round 8. Rocky pressuring right from the start as though determined to end the fight in this round. And as things turned out, that's just the way it happened. Let's watch closely now and see exactly how Marciano knocked out one of the greatest champions the ring has ever known. Rocky's crowding leaves little room for Lewis to punch. Marciano's short arms, normally a handicap, actually are an advantage at close range because he generates terrific power. It's a matter of leverage, properly applied. Keep watching for that punch. That's the one that spells finish for Lewis. Lewis jabbing, but it's purely defensive. He's flat-footed, tired. As he's driven back to the ropes, a favorite maneuver of Marciano's, one he's been using to good advantage throughout the fight. Marciano exerting more and more pressure as he moves in for the kill. Rocky about to glance a right off Lewis' jaw. And see how quickly he moves in, giving Joe no time at all to catch his breath. Seconds of the 8th round.
Bring him down, and very confidently in his corner, Felix Boquicchio, manager of Walcott, stands very cool, very calm, looks down and talks to friends in the press rows. Incidentally, their correspondents here tonight from 10 foreign countries, one from as far away as Bombay and India. That's a long way to come to any prize fight. This has not been a thrilling fight, but a very hard one, and now we go round 13, the unlucky number. Maybe. Walcott plainly is intent on staying away now if he can. There's the right hand, Walcott. And Rocky Marciano is the heavyweight champion of the world. Rocky Marciano. Game fighter that he is okay. I'm trying to get over here to find out. He's all right, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Terry is there with him. His eyes are clear. He's conscious again. A beautiful right-hand punch. Never saw a finer one. Very sharp right-hand punch. Turned Joe upside down. Stood him on his head in the fatal 13th round. Now, I want to bring you, as soon as I can, the new champion. We will get Marciano over here. As you can see, there's plenty of excitement in this ring. I'm trying to keep the cameras in view and try to get Rocky. Al. As soon as I can, Al, get Rocky over, will you? And that's Al Weil, and we're going to get him here for you folks on theater television. That was a sensational knockout, as you saw. And now another great Massachusetts.
And the new heavyweight champion of the world, Rocky Marciano.
And here he is, ladies and gentlemen, Rocky Marciano. Rocky Marciano, the new heavyweight champion of the world. Rocky. Did you think you were winning?
Well, no, I thought I was just maybe a hair behind. I knew I had to do something. I knew I had to do something.
And you did do something. Did you think you were going to catch up with him?
Well, I was wishing I'd hit him with that left hook or right hand.
Yeah.
He certainly takes a good punch, Bill.
Yeah, and you did hit him with the right hand, of course.
Yes, I hit him with right hands and left
And
hook.
did you think he was gone? Did you think he was gone when you nailed him?
Well, I knew it hurt him.
You could feel the punch. You knew it hurt him.
I knew it hurt him.
Well, congratulations, Rocky. You're a great fighter.
In the 12th round, Walcott, who was a superb heavyweight, gave Marciano such a beating that I didn't think Rocky would be able to come out for the 13th round.
I had it 8-4 in Walcott's favor.
Marciano was behind on all three scorecards. He maneuvered Walcott to the ropes in the 13th round.
I was hollering, Lollapalooza, Rock, Lollapalooza, and then all of a sudden, bang.
Walcott got hit with a sledgehammer. He might still be lying there for all I know.
He fell flat in his face, thought it killed him. People in the audience were just amazed, didn't move a muscle.
Greatest single punch I ever remember. Walcott went down, and I think hours later he was still out.
And the new heavyweight champion of the world, Rocky Marciano.
Well, last night I fought a real true champion in Jersey Joe Walcott. He proved to me what a champion is made out of. And I only hope that I could be as good as him.
This is ringside, the top 10 heavyweights. Next up, Rocky Marciano, rated number 6 on Bert Sugar's list, faces Ezzard Charles in their 1954 fight from New York.
September 17th, 1954, Yankee Stadium, New York. 35,000 fight fans in the ballpark see Rocky Marciano defend his World Heavyweight Championship against former champion Ezzard Charles. Johnny Addy announces the contestants as the huge crowd awaits round 1. Marciano out of his corner. Postponed 48 hours because of the weather. The fight starts briskly. Rocky in the black trunks weighs 187. Charles in the white trunks is 5.5 pounds heavier. The referee is Al Burl. Marciano won the World Heavyweight title on September 23rd, 1954 by knocking out Jersey Joe Walcott in 13 rounds at Philadelphia. Ezzard Charles held the title for 10 months. He lost it to Walcott in July of 1951. Rocky Marciano, grim and determined. Ezzard Charles hooking away with that left hand. Charles beating Marciano to the punch. That's the end of round 1. And that nose is a target for Ezzard Charles, and a legitimate target. In their last fight, the champion was slowed up by a gash under his left eye, and Charles knows it's one way to slow him up again if possible. But Marciano's aggressiveness is not making it easy. Ezzard Charles beginning to show the signs of wear and tear. Good combination punches by Rocky Marciano. Charles may be in trouble again. The end of round 7. The 8th round has hardly started before Charles is to open a cut under Rocky's right eye, but this was to be the final dramatic round. Once more, a chance to see the punch that's... Charles getting up, but he's dazed, and the champion now has him at his mercy. The knockout punches are on their way. Now count those 6 punches in succession. 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's it.
The time, 2 minutes, 36 seconds of the 8th round.
The Rock didn't respond to Moore's verbal jabs. He let his fist do the talking in the ring.
The count was 4. Two minutes until the end of the round. The champion's in trouble. Bleeding from the nose now. 1 minute to the end of the round. Rocky's still shaky a little. Moore is showing he knows how to fight. That's for sure. Landing well inside, got Marciano's eye puffed. 10 seconds till the end of the round. Marciano's fighting for his championship life. And the bell, and to Marciano's corner. You can see, perhaps, that Rocky was pretty well mussed up. I know you don't see the blood very well. He's bleeding pretty good from the nose and also from under his left eye. It was a right hand, a beautiful right hand shot that knocked him down in mid-ring, a clean right hand after a left hand feint, and he took the count of 4. That reminded me of the Walcott fight in which Marciano was knocked down in the first round, of course, and then came on to win in the 13th, as he very well may this time. Archie's on the defensive now. Ten seconds until the end of the round. The champion coming on. Tunney! 1 minute till the end of the round. Moore is just rocking and weaving, but he's not too badly hurt yet. Moore came out of it with a great left hook. He's making Marciano miss and miss. Miss and miss. Rocky looks tired too now. Moore just stood there and made him miss. Made him miss. Ten seconds till the end of the round. The punch after the bell, we follow Marciano to his corner. He's a Rocky. He went halfway out to the center of the ring and went back with a kind of a sick smile on his face. Right hand, right hand, right hand, right hand. 5 by 6, right hand. Moore's in bad trouble. This could be the end. Now he's really punching him. Moore's legs are gone. It's just his instinct. Just his instinct. Maybe the bell. Now he punches back. Now he punches back. Now he punches back. He's taking an awful beating. Look at his legs. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. 20 seconds. Moore's legs are gone. He's down again. 15 seconds. 9. He got to him. 9. 10 seconds. 10 seconds. 10 seconds. There's the bell. He made it on his feet. Look at him going back. Here goes Dr. Nardiello in the Moore's corner. The fight could be decided right here. Whether he lets him come out or not, we won't know. A right hand started it. He took a 5 count, and then Marciano came for him and bombarded him. They're calling it an official 4 count. The same thing that Marciano took in the second round. I thought it was 5, but they say officially he took 4 from the right hand, a right hand, and then from then on, then in the corner when he went down the second time to take the 9, it was just a series of punches of all kinds. Those punches are not landing solidly. If they were, somebody'd have to go. 20 seconds. Moore fought his way out of the corner. That eye is bad now. Rocky's still chasing him. The bull and the Toreador, and the bull keeps coming. 10 seconds. Right hand. Right hand. Right hand. That bell saved him. The bell saved him. The bell saved him. They don't know. I hope you got that from me. Maybe I did you a little good. The referee didn't know. Nobody knew. But the bell saved him at 6. Here goes the doctor again. That was a right hand, and the bell rang at 6. He's so strong, Marciano. So strong. So durable. What right hand? Everything on. Moore, too. Moore could punch with him. If Moore had the punch, what a fight this would be, and what a fight it is anyhow. Just a bombardment. Moore's legs are so nearly gone. He's not punching back at all now. Now he is. Oh, a good right hand by Moore. A beauty. Just not to steam on it. There he goes. In his own corner.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, The time, 1 minute, 19 seconds of the 9th round. Winner by a knockout, and still heavyweight champion of the world, Rocky Marciano.
Rocky, congratulations.
Oh, Bill.
What kind of a fight was this one, Rock?
Archie's a very tough, willing, determined fighter. I didn't think that he would stand up like he did. Congratulations to him. I guess he wasn't just talking up there at North Adams, Mass.
No, he wasn't. He fought a great fight, didn't he? And, of course, you did, too, as always, Rocky. This is 49 straight, and I know you're going to go for that golden 50 for sure because you never look better, and you really were punching, and you're a great champion. Great credit to this country.
Very much.
I know the kind of fellow you are and everybody else. Now, here's Archie. We'll put them together. So, it was a great, great fight, and...
After that fight, Rocky Marciano would retire 49-0, and that's it. Bert, he just turned 32 years old. Why did Rocky Marciano leave?
Well, there were a couple of reasons. I think the first was stated that he was throwing his daughter Barbara in the air and hurt his back. Second was he'd run out of competition. There was nobody. But more importantly was an underlying theme. He did not like his manager, Al Weil, who had told him he had such control. Wives are bad for boxers. I'll tell you when you can get married. He bridled about that, got married anyway, and never liked Al Weil, whom he caught giving him a short sheet in the splits between manager and fighter. He just decided, I'm going to get you, I'm going to retire, that ends the contract, I'll come back again.
He thought he was going to come back at that point, you think. So
fact,
why did that not happen?
In fact, he was going to come back against Ingemar Johansson had Johansson won the second Patterson fight. He was already in training.
That serious about it?
Yes.
Really?
But without Al Weil, which was the reason he quit.
Why didn't he then come back against Floyd Patterson?
He really didn't think about that. He wanted Ingemar Johansson. That was in
better matchup for him?
Yes, and it was in his crosshairs. That's what he wanted. After all these years of absence in the ring, 5 years, I won Ingemar.
What about coming back? The way he was able to come back in fights. 13th.
The same left, same type, same power as he knocked out Ezzard Charles with one punch earlier. Now, Walcott turns his back and raises his hands as he walks to the corner thinking he's knocked him out. That cost him a chance to get at Marciano, because although he pummels him the rest of the first round, he never has a chance after that to knock him out. Goes to the middle rounds. Marciano comes back a little. Marciano is blinded and loses 7, 8, 9. Can't see, doesn't know the reason. Something got in his eyes, cannot see. And yet, he still is hitting Walcott, albeit Walcott is outpointing him. Walcott is still doing his do-si-dos, because he had one magic signature punch, and he got Lewis with it twice. He turns away right, and from the right throws off his pivot foot, the back foot, his right hand. He's on the ropes in the 13th round. He pivots with a do-si-do and starts his right hand, and it never arrives, because Marciano has thrown his right at the same time. Shifts his face like pudding, and he goes down. And there's a thank you, ma'am, that crosses the top of his head. And Walcott is lying on the ropes with one arm caught in the ropes. And that was it. Marciano behind after 12 rounds wins. Now, in perspective, think about that. Today we have 12-round fights for championships, not 15. Had it been a 12-round fight, Jersey Joe Walcott would have won that fight.
How special, even in this elite group where we're talking about the greatest heavyweight champions of all time, and this is the top of the food chain, as they say here in Brooklyn, how special is that to be down and able to come back? I mean, we've seen even among the greats where...
That's Susie Q, right hand, landed square. And it was so powerful that it carried punch, not only made Marciano, it's recorded as one of the great punches in the history of boxing.
This is Ringside. Here is a recap of Bert Sugar's list of the top 10 heavyweights as we continue the countdown. At number 10, Larry Holmes. The pride of Easton, Pennsylvania, won his 48 fights before losing a disputed decision to Michael Spinks. Number 9 is Smokin' Joe Frazier. Frazier's will, skill, and left hook made him one of boxing's most feared sluggers. Joe's motto was kill the body and the head will die. Right behind Frazier is the man who sent him to the canvas 6 times, George Foreman. Big George's pro career spanned 3 decades, recapturing the heavyweight crown at 45 by knocking out Michael Morrow. Number 7 on the list is the Cincinnati Cobra, Ezzard Charles. Charles fought in 13 championship bouts and won 96 fights, 58 by knockout. Number 6, it's The Rock. Rocky, 5 to go on Ringside, the top 10 heavyweights.
We are at number 5. Gene Tunney, the Fighting Marine, is number 5. A man who gained his reputation as a light heavyweight, Bert. His 5 brutal fights with Harry Greb, an all-time great, but a much smaller man. But you have Tunney rated fairly high at number 5. Why?
I think he was a consummate fighter, not puncher, fighter. Albeit he had a punch. He knocked out Carpentier, he knocked out many of his opponents. But we remember him as a fighter. But he is sort of a non-fighter in the way that fighters are, quote unquote, as we say, born, not made. He was made. Mm-hmm. He made himself by copying Mike Gibbons' style. He sparred with James J. Corbett, old fighter, old heavyweight champion. He learned at the knee of Benny Leonard, who was badly by Harry Greb, the only time he ever lost, went back and figured out how to fight him. And Greb held his hands held high. He learned how to hit underneath his hands to his heart to sap his strength, beat him 4 times. Gene Tunney was great, but the foundation of his greatness, as we know, is against Dempsey. He now challenges Dempsey. Dempsey is a man-eater. Everybody thinks it's Dempsey's fight to win. They fight twice, 10 rounds each. Those were the rules in those days in Pennsylvania and Illinois where they fought. Mm-hmm. Of the 10 rounds in each fight, 20 in total, Dempsey wins 1 round. That's how good Tunney was. Mm-hmm. Afterwards, their first fight in Philadelphia, Sesquicentennial Stadium, 1926, Dempsey says, "Lead me across the ring. I want to shake his hand and congratulate him." Why? Tunney had closed both eyes. He was that good. And in my book, Boxing's Greatest Fighters, I have him rated 5th because I thought this was a great fighter. The problem was he was not exciting, particularly in the wake of Jack Champion with less Shakespeare and more wallops. He was not popular.
You know, but it's amazing to me because I hear that all the time, that he aspired to go into the higher social classes. He wanted to be well-read. You talk about how he was a self-made man in the ring. Shouldn't that make a guy more popular? I mean, that he was aspiring to greater things, and he made himself into something great.
But it was the 20s, and we really didn't go for that. We wanted something that was real and tangible and exciting, a Babe Ruth, a Jack Dempsey. Mm-hmm. We didn't want a man reading Shakespeare and meeting George Bernard Shaw. We wanted somebody that, really was exciting. And because Dempsey was so exciting, we tend now, as they did then, to overlook the Fighting Marine.
All right, Bert Randolph Sugar not overlooking the Fighting Marine, though. He has him in at number 5. Let's take a look now. We go back to Dempsey Tunney 1 in 1926.
When round 1. Gene Tunney with a crew haircut has the darker trunks. It's starting to rain, but the fight is going to continue. 130,000 fans here tonight. The largest gate in the history of American sports. Dempsey hasn't fought for 3 years, but even so, everyone figures it's a cinch for him to win by a knockout within a few rounds. Tunney looks pale, seems tense. Dempsey's best punch is his left hook. It destroyed those two giants, Jess Willard and Louis Burpo. Tunney's got the best 1-2 combination in the business. While he doesn't have Dempsey's power, Gene can hurt you plenty. The end of round 1. Now round 6 of this world's heavyweight title bout between champion Jack Dempsey and Gene Tunney here in Philadelphia. Dempsey always moving forward, bobbing, weaving, trying to get one good poke at Tunney. Tunney's a native New Yorker, the first ever to try for the heavyweight crown. Gene started out to be a lawyer, but joined the Marines in 1918. He began boxing in the service. He won the AEF championship and then decided to go into the fight game instead of the law. Tunney's had 60 professional fights, and he's lost only one. A 15-round decision to Harry Greb. Gene's won 30 of his fights by knockout. Dempsey has a cut under his right eye. Tunney keeps peppering it. The end of round 6. In the 7th and 8th rounds, Tunney continues to outbox and out-hit the great Jack Dempsey. Dempsey in the lighter trunks. Jack is desperate. He's way behind. He knows his only chance to keep his title now is by a knockout. That long 3-year layoff has had its effect on Dempsey. His old speed is gone. His timing is off. And here in the 10th round, he's pretty well used up. Just a few seconds left, and the rain is coming down in torrents. Almost a cloudburst. The end of the fight. Tunney, the winner by unanimous decision.
Gene Tunney Jack Dempsey rematch at Soldier Field in 1927 drew over 100,000 fans and set a record by netting $2.65 million at the gate. An estimated 60 million people listened to the fight on the radio. Tunney, who had won a 10-round decision over Dempsey in the first bout, escaped a knockout in the rematch after the infamous long count that came in round 7 of that second fight. Here's a newsreel explaining the controversy.
Tunney is down. Referee Dave Barry motions Dempsey to a neutral corner. Now let's take a closer look at all the action in slow motion. This is the historic long count. Dempsey lashes out like the old Manasseh Mauler. Tunney hits the canvas. The official knockdown timekeeper at ringside starts the count. But referee Dave Barry ignores him, and instead he tries to make Dempsey understand that he will not start the count until Dempsey goes to the farthest neutral corner. That's the Illinois boxing rule. Dempsey finally obeys, and then Barry starts the count. The Dempsey fans here at ringside are furious. They're claiming that Tunney was down 4 seconds before the count was started. But the Tunney fans say the count has nothing to do with it. Tunney can get up any time. He's watching the referee and listening to the count. He's staying down only because he wants to take full advantage of the count. The Dempsey fans insist more than 10 seconds have elapsed, but Barry's count is still going on. Count is 9, Tunney is up.
All right, there's the newsreel footage. And again, we apologize if you were counting and suddenly slow motion replay. No, I'm counting. All right, explain. Explain now how that came about and why there was that controversy and why, with a fighter going to a neutral corner. That was relatively new, right?
Yes, it was Dempsey's doing. Dempsey was the one who called for that rule. And this is unusual because Dempsey was the type of fighter who would stand over a fallen opponent, as he had over Willard,
get back up, put him back down.
as he had over Firpo, like the avenging angel of death. The minute your gloves are off the floor, boom. So it was Dempsey. But Dempsey in the first fight, the year before, had been so injured around the eyes, he was fearful of his eyes, and he was afraid that Tunney would knock him down, which parenthetically and incidentally, this is in the 7th round, the 8th round, Tunney does knock him down. The referee, Dave Barry, was installed that afternoon of the fight. There was a rumor of chicanery. Al Capone had a lot of money that afternoon put in on Dempsey and had his own referee. And he was replaced that afternoon by Dave Barry. And there were all kinds of rumors. That's why this, all these years later, is still a controversy.
Right. But now Tunney is looking up at Barry at that point.
But
you think
14 seconds.
You've probably watched it for many, many times.
14 seconds.
But could he
down.
have gotten back up if he picked up the count and said, 6, 7? Could he have gotten back up?
Tunney said he could have. That was good enough for me because Tunney knew where he was at all times. Though he did say later that being on the floor is the loneliest feeling in the world. He's down. He says, I picked up the count at about 3. And then he's staring at the referee.
Right.
Now, if it was 14 seconds by some people's clock, and he picks up the count at 3, that means he's picked it up at 7, even though Barry is trying to shoo Dempsey over to the neutral corner, so he still could have gotten up.
Right.
There's no doubt 4 seconds helped him to clear his head more.
Sure.
But he now gets on his horse, and he knows exactly what to do. And Jack Dempsey, and this is Dempsey's last fight, by the by, is an old man. He's trying to catch him again, and it was that lethal left hook that did it, and he can't catch him.
Right.
He just cannot catch him. But the controversy still goes on. The irony is Tunney wins, and Dempsey comes out of this the hero. People adopted Dempsey, and Dempsey said later, all people remember is the long count. It made me a lot of money. I like money.
And only one title defense after that for Gene Tunney, and then he would retire.
He retires.
Yeah.
Tunney got a check from Tex Rickard. There were 120-some thousand packed in. Official 100,000. 120 were in Soldier Field that day, or that night. And you wonder what they saw from the outer reaches. Tunney gets a check from Tex Rickard, the promoter, for $990,000. He gives it back to him, writes his own check for $10,000, and says, I want a check for $1 million. And that check is still the photostat.
Yeah. Cash the check.
Yes. Oh, definitely. Oh,
Right.
definitely. Is on the garage wall of his son up in Connecticut.
There we go. Gene Tunney, Fighting Marine, number 5 on the list for Bert Randolph Sugar. We are at number 4, and number 4 on Bert's list is Jack Johnson. Why Jack Johnson this high, Bert?
Jack Johnson was brilliant. In fact, there were some like Nat Fleischer, the former publisher of Ring Magazine, thought he was the greatest fighter of all time. Tom Sharkey, who fought twice for the heavyweight championship at the turn of the last century, said he was great. He was the greatest I ever saw, and I say that honestly because I hated the man. So he was viewed as one of the greats. He was a great defensive fighter. He could put up his hands, catch anything, elbows, hands, cat-like moves, and at 6'1", when the average size of the American male was 5'9½", was enormous. He could do everything. In fact, it was said that he shaved his head so he could butt people, just in case nothing else was working. Now, go to Tommy Burns, who didn't want to fight him. They pulled what they called the color line, 5'8". So you can see it almost looks like the 1939 World's Fair, the disparity.
Right.
And Jack Johnson, who had beaten everybody in the what they call Black Murderers Row, Denver, Ed Martin, he'd beaten Sam Langford, Sam McVeigh, Joe Jeanette, but he couldn't get a fight against whites. He chased Tommy Burns all the way to Australia, where on the day after Christmas, 1908, he gets him in the ring. And according to the referee, H.D. McIntosh, which stood for Huge Deal McIntosh, and he was the promoter. That's how that worked in those days. Jack Johnson in the first clinch fouled Tommy Burns badly. Split his lip. It was hanging from his lip.
Fouled him how? What, elbow?
On the break.
Just grappling off the
on
break.
the break,
Okay.
he hit him. And at that point, knocked down Burns 3 times before the 14th round. At which point, McIntosh, not knowing what to do, didn't stop the fight. The constabulary of Sydney, Australia, jumped in the ring to stop the fight. And they cut off the cameras.
The police shut off the cameras and stopped the fight.
He toyed with Tommy.
So you wouldn't see a black man beating a white man.
Yes.
I mean, it brings up just how difficult his life must have been, Bert, that this is, well, he's chasing Tommy Burns around more than 40 years before Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier in baseball, which we know what Jackie Robinson had to go through. 40 years before, this is in the days of lynchings in this country, he's trying to become the biggest and the, as we then would call it, the baddest man on the planet. How difficult must his life have been?
It wasn't just his life, it's what he represented. Because the minute he won that title, he really unwelled a tremendous backlog of hate. This was the white man's crown. The white man's slave had become his master. It was the worst thing to happen to the white race since Tamerlane in the 14th century and his hordes had overrun Europe. And everybody hated him for it. Everybody. I mean, the establishment.
Right, the white establishment.
Which was the establishment.
Right.
I mean, to be honest.
Of course.
And even as he continued to act his act, and Jack Johnson cared nothing for anything, he opened up a club in Chicago, the Café de Champion, which served all liquor and no morals. And even Booker T. Washington came out against him, the leader and the head, really, of the black voice of the time, because it was an era, real quickly, of reform. They were banning drinking, and it gained enough credence to become what? Prohibition. Mm-hmm. They banned betting on horses at tracks. Women couldn't drive bicycles if their ankles showed. And it was just a reform era, and here's a black man who is the strongest man in the world. He represents boxing, which at that time, the heavyweight champion was the premier athlete. And who is it? A black man. Jack Johnson had really unwelled a tremendous hatred, and he didn't care. He really didn't.
Tell us about Jim Jeffries now, called back out. Now, this is 5 years after. He's retired. He retired undefeated, right?
He retired in 1905, Jim Jeffries. He had beaten Bob Fitzsimmons, who had beaten Jim Corbett, who had beaten John L. Sullivan. Lineal champion. And some people, because he was not beaten, thought he was still the champion. It was a problem of succession.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I mean, they didn't know what to do hypothetically with John Tyler when he succeeded William Henry Harrison. Was he vice president or acting president? You know, what is he when Harrison dies? So they don't know what Johnson is, but Jeffries is. Johnson is not the champion. Jeffries is still the champion. So there was a move afoot which started in Sydney, Australia by Jack London, the great writer. Jeff, come off your farm and wipe this smile off this black man's face. Except he didn't say black man. Mm-hmm. And it's a white hope era. And they're going to try to get Jack Johnson. Now, Johnson between Tommy Burns, where he's talking to Tommy, hit me, Tommy, hit me here. Nothing. Now faces Stanley Ketchel, middleweight champion, in a fight basically that the film writes. It's a done deal.
There was an understanding between those two. Yeah, we're going to put on a little show, we're going to make a little money.
And we'll go to a decision, a non-decision, and that's it. Except Ketchel gets a little frisky. And in the 10th round lands a right hand from hell, knocking Johnson down. Well, Johnson gets up, down a 4.
And says, okay.
And as Ketchel runs in,
that way. Yeah.
Ketchel runs in first punch, not only lays him out in quasi-crucifixion scene, but the next thing you see is the referee's counting him out. Johnson is picking the teeth of Ketchel out of his glove. They want Johnson badly, and Jim Jeffries is their vehicle.
How did this fight go actually in the ring with James Jeffries?
Real quickly, the fight was originally scheduled for California. The reform movement threw it out, but there was a rumor at that time that Johnson would let Jim Jeffries win. But when it went over to Reno, Nevada, the promoter Tex Rickard finding Reno as the cross switch for every railroad coming through the West, all bets were off. And yet it was an ugly scene reflecting the attitude of the day, the social attitude. As Johnson came in the ring, they played All Coons Look Alike to Me. It was a totally white crowd. Jeffries was a 10-7 betting favorite.
Even though he'd been gone 5 years?
Well, it was all white money. And as such, the crowd was for Jim Jeffries. The atmosphere was for Jim Jeffries. And in the words of Jack Johnson, made no never mind. From get-go. He outpointed him, he outslugged him, he outmuscled him, he talked to him. Interesting sidelight, one of the handlers of Jim Jeffries in his corner was a man he had defeated twice, James J. Corbett. And he was making comments about Johnson being yellow, as all members of the race are, or something a little bit saltier. And Johnson would hit Jeffries, hold him, and talk to Corbett, saying, "You're next, Mr. Jim." 15th round, knocked him down 3 times. A poor Jeffries, nose broken, ribs broken, and his corner, Corbett and all of them jumped in to save Jeffries, and the fight was over. But it had ramifications. There were riots in cities with whites killing blacks, 19 dead. Congress jumped in, forbade the interstate commerce of movies showing this fight. All boxing movies from here on in until the 30s were illegal. And last but not least, Jack Johnson looked unbeatable. So the government, deciding we can't get him in the ring, went after him to get him legally.
Explain the Mann Act then, exactly how he was put in that position.
The Mann Act was really a white slavery act. You cannot take women across state lines for immoral purposes. And yet they applied it to Jack Johnson, who took a woman across state lines. It just so happened he married her, Ann Cameron. They still got him. They got perjured testimony. They convicted him, sentenced him to $10,000 fine, a year and a day. He jumped bail. He went with a touring baseball company, Pop Foster or Rube Foster's baseball team, out of his Chicago house, across to Canada with his wife, over to Europe, and he basically was an expatriate from 1912 to 1919, fighting and living in 1915, I take it back, 1915, living in Europe, basically trying anything, bull fiddle acts, vaudeville, Shakespeare, fighting twice, and then comes an offer. Come to Havana and fight the winner of the Great White Hope contests. This ex-rodeo rider, he's so tall, 6'6", looks like the man that Jack met at the top of the beanstalk named Jess Willard. And he's promised by the 2 promoters, Jack Curley and Harry Frazee, who later owns the Boston Red Sox, that they'll get him off the Mann Act. He won't have to serve. So at 37 years of age, out of shape, doesn't train, thinks Willard is a pushover, he comes to Havana and fights him on April 15, 1915, in 105-degree heat, in a scheduled 45-round fight.
And now rounds are 3 minutes at that point. We're not talking about where they used to have quick engagements and that would be 1 round or a guy gets knocked down, end of a round, real rounds. You think that fight was on the up and up?
Quickly, Johnson gets knocked out in the 26th round. He then sells a confession through the fight to Matt Fleischer, who never believed in the name the publisher of Ring. There was something going on. His wife had left the arena. She either got money or couldn't stand to see him beaten. You take your pick. Number 2 of which is he never got off the Mann Act. But number 3 was a photographic shot of Willard standing over Johnson. Johnson with his hand over his eyes and his legs off the canvas in 105-degree heat, saying, well, he's shielding his eyes from the sun. That looks awfully suspicious.
Is that, though?
And yet, if you look at a picture of Billy Conn getting knocked out in the second fight in 46 by Joe Louis, his reflexes are such that his hand's in exactly the same spot.
Okay.
That fight, by the way, the Louis-Conn second fight, Jack Johnson was coming to it.
Really?
He was driving to it in his roadster, refused service in a North Carolina diner because he was black. Spun out of the driving lot, the parking lot, against off gravel, lost control of the car, hit a telephone pole, and was killed. One writer, line in the obituary the next morning read, Jack Johnson died today, crossing the white line for the last time.